Hi, Melanie. Thanks so much for talking today. Could you just let me know what your name that I already said is and your role at the Monterey Bay Aquarium?
Hi, well, thank you for welcoming me to your program today. My name is Melanie Order, and I am the curator of mammals at the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Which mammals?
Oh, well, our main mammal is sea otter. So my title is a bit elusive. It's curator of mammals, but that mammal would reference our sea otters. And
Nice.
specifically, I work with our sea otters that are our resident sea otters at the aquarium.
Very nice. So what is a typical day like working with the sea otters? We get to see a little bit of like feeding on stream. What else goes on taking care of them?
They keep us busy for sure, and one of the main things we do for them is provide all of their healthcare, their nutrition, enrichment, training. We even get in and dive to make sure their habitat's nice and clean and clean their windows. A couple times a week, we dive in their sea otter habitat. We actually move the sea otters into a behind the scenes pool so we can dive in there safely and they're not trying to turn the air off on our scuba tanks or pull the masks off of our faces.
Yeah.
And so it's fun because every day is a little bit different. As I said, we dive twice a week. On other days, we might be doing more training. On some days, we might be doing more enrichment with them, like giving them toys and things. And we do have three scheduled feeds a day at 10:30, 1:30, and 3:30. And so our audiences can jump online and see those feeds every day that we do with our sea otters. So that's a lot of fun that we share a little bit about our otters every day to our online audience. And diet preparation is a huge part of what we do to take care of them. We get there about 7:30 in the morning, prepare all of the food they need for the day, and they eat about 25% of their body weight every day, and they weigh about 40 to 50 pounds. And so we're preparing about 10 pounds of food every day for each of our otters.
Yeah, I saw the kitchen when I was there, and it is a lot of food. It's so much
Yeah,
food.
yes, they eat a lot, and they eat a lot of good food that is human grade quality and also sustainably sourced. So it comes from good sources that are not um, being detrimental to wild populations of fish.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw. I attempted to eat a full day's food of like sea otters meal in a day with three friends, and we couldn't do it, even with four of us. So, uh,
That's impressive.
yeah, it made me much more impressed by what the sea otters can put back every single day. It seems like the sea otters have a lot of personality, at least from what I saw. Do you have any like I don't know, can you just like talk about how the sea otters are maybe individually different? Maybe it's just like one anecdote or quirk of some of the different ones. And then Rosa, if there's anything notable about her personality and what she kind of brought.
For sure. They definitely all have different personalities. And right now we have Ivy, Selka, and Ruby are our resident sea otters. Ivy is 12 years old, soon to be 13. She is our whitest or blondest otter, and that coloration just comes because of age, individual genetics, maybe time in the sun.
And just
And
fashion too, right?
well, we do call her our platinum blonde,
Okay,
and
yeah.
she's yeah, yes. So she lives up to that name. She can be a little particular and wants things just right. If anything's different in her environment, Ivy will notice it. For instance,
Huh.
we put a couple new plants around our exhibit one day, and she came on deck and she was checking them out, and like, what are those things? It took her a couple of days to approve of the new plantings, but I think we've got Ivy's approval. So
Yeah.
she's a real sweet otter. She's definitely aware of her surroundings
Mm.
and will let us know that. If she doesn't like what's going on, she's not going to come over and interact with us. So
That's fun.
she's a little particular, I would say, but
Yeah.
she's a great otter and fun to work with.
She sounds like a cat. It sounds like a cat, like my my old cat. Just
I,
be
I
very,
worked
yeah.
I've worked with a lot of animals during my career, and not to directly compare them, but sea otters are maybe the most cat-like exotic animal I have worked with. They want things in a particular way.
Mm.
Um, they're interested, they'll interact. If they're not, maybe you should just come on back later and see if
Yeah.
it's right
Yeah.
that they want to interact with you.
Oh, that's adorable. That's gonna get. I think the cat fans in the audience will very much appreciate the knowledge that they are sort of similar to cats, maybe.
Otters are very independent and spicy, I would say.
Mm. What about Selka? What are some I don't know, personality traits or
Selka's
something?
smart. Selka's also 12 years old. Her and Ivy are about the same age. And Selka's really smart. She catches on to things really quickly, and she has actually partaken in research studies where she was trained to touch different objects with her paws
Mm.
and then tell the staff working with them which object was bigger. And that helped us learn more about sea otters so that we could learn more about the size of prey or the animals they were collecting to eat in the wild
Huh.
that were beneficial for them. Otters are pretty smart, right? They might feel something in the dark water and be like, well, this mussel feels bigger than this one, so let me take the bigger one because
Huh.
that's going to be more beneficial to me. So Selka's a little bit more mild mannered, generally speaking, I would say, than Ivy, and really smart, and definitely likes to engage in the training sessions that you can see us do every day with our otters if you come online.
Yeah.
And Selka's easy to tell apart from Ivy. She's got a more dark chocolatey fur color.
Yeah. All right, and then what about Rosa? What was a notable personality trait or two about her?
Oh, well, Rosa was just an iconic animal. She came to us at a really young age, as a lot of our sea otters have. She was just a couple weeks old when she came to the aquarium back in 1999. And then she was determined to be non-releasable and settled into the aquarium since she was rescued. And she's just been a pillar for our sea otter program. She was one of the first otters that became a surrogate mom, and that's when our sea otters that live on our exhibit act as foster moms for pups that come in from the wild into our rehabilitation program. And so she was a great mom. She was kind of a fierce mom. She was very protective of the pups that she cared for. And she was also very playful. She was not a shy animal. She would be out there by our windows where our
Yeah.
guests could see
Yeah, she
her up
was very,
close.
very, very
Yeah,
social. Yeah.
you got to meet her, right? When you were able to come out and visit us.
Yeah.
And so just a really confident animal. And I would say she was really good at being a sea otter. She took really good care of her pups. She loved crabs and she loved food in the shell and she loved to crack them open and she loved to play with her toys. And most of the time she was pretty willing to work with her silly human friends, but if she didn't want to, she would let you know that you also should come back later and maybe
Yeah.
have something better than what you have right now, because she definitely had preferences in food. And that changed depending the day. So some days shrimp was good, some days clam was good. And she was such a special otter that the last few years we were like, yeah, Rosie, you can have whatever you want.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
will make sure we have it in the refrigerator for you.
Yeah, it was always a lot of fun knowing that we were supporting her very particular, elegant culinary preferences. That's what, like, I thought it was kind of a joke when I kept saying we were going to get a really nice shrimp, and then we realized she's actually getting like great stuff. So it was awesome. You know.
So she would eat bigger shrimp than I have eaten in my life, and she loved them. On If it was a day that she liked shrimp, then
Right, right. If she's in the
she would
mood,
readily
yeah.
she was in the mood.
Uh,
I like how you described her elegant culinary preferences. Is that how you described her?
yeah, something like that. I have to imagine in her brain she's like, it's a clam kind of day. You know, she knew what she wanted waking up.
She Yes, no. One day, one of our staff was working with her, and sometime it was even how we gave it to her. Do you want it in a shell? Do you want it in a toy? Would you like it if I fed it to you over here? And one day she was eating out of a toy, and we had a couple toys, and we would give them to her, and we use really sturdy dog toys essentially, and we'll put food in there, and she likes to scoop it out. Well, we ran out of the toys. They all sank to the bottom around of her pool around her, and so we started offering her the same food that was in the toy, but she would drop it. And all of a sudden, she left her staff member, went and got a toy, handed the staff member the toy, like, I want it in the toy today.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's an absolutely true story that happened to one of my coworkers. Rosa communicated loudly if you listen to her.
Oh, that's incredibly adorable. So okay, the sea otter rehabilitation program I think is incredible, and at this point I will have probably yelled loudly about the program. But could you just walk through, like, let's say the stages of finding an otter, and maybe if the otter is rehabilitated by one of the sea otters in the aquarium, and then them being released, like kind of what those stages are.
Great. I would love to talk about that. So, when our otters that live at the aquarium come into play, it's really when a pup or an animal less than 9 weeks of age comes in, a sea otter less than 9 weeks of age comes into our rehabilitation program. And that's when, for one reason or another, that pup, that young animal, young sea otter has been separated from their mother. Sea otter pups are dependent on mom for upwards to 6 months.
Mm.
So any otter that is 2, 3, 4 weeks old, they're not going to survive on their own in the wild. And so our hope is that when we get a call that there is a sea otter pup, our rehabilitation staff will go out, assess the situation, and the very first thing they do is see if there is a female out there in the ocean looking for
Mm.
that pup. Moms are, if they're around, they're going to be hopping up, looking for their pup, even vocalizing or calling for it. And we'll spend quite a bit of time doing that to do what we call a reunite, where the pup is put back in the wild with their mom. And if that can't happen, then that pup is brought into the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and our rehabilitation and veterinary teams work together to assess the health of that animal. So the first thing we do is work to stabilize the pup. And at that point, humans are taking care of the animal. We provide it a formula from a bottle. You'll be eating solid food. We'll offer it solid food. And then our veterinarians really assess the state of the health of that animal and work to stabilize it health wise. And so the next couple of weeks are going to be hands on human care and working to stabilize that pup, getting it to drink that formula, eating the food we're offering it, and working towards that next stage when that pup's old enough that it's eating all solid food, isn't drinking from a bottle anymore, or taking or needing that formula. It's time to try to introduce it to one of our resident female sea otters. And that's when the surrogate part of the sea otter's job at the Monterey Bay Aquarium comes into play. And we'll have one of our female sea otters that live at the aquarium go up to our facility where our pups are being cared for. It's behind the scenes. It's right on site at the aquarium. It's just behind the scenes. And our hope is that when that female sea otter is introduced to that pup, that maternal instinct will kick in, and they essentially adopt it as their own.
Mm.
And for the next upwards to 3 to 4 months, that female is going to live with that pup and essentially teach it how to be a sea otter.
Mm.
The pup will learn from that surrogate or foster mom how to dive and look for food, how to eat food. How do you eat a spiky urchin? Like, that takes some
Yeah.
skill.
Yeah.
The mom will teach them how to do that. And there's several milestones our rehabilitation team looks for: eating whole food, a nice healthy coat. When the pups are born, they have a pup coat. It's really fluffy, it's really buoyant. That gets shed, and hopefully their adult fur comes in, so it's waterproof and does what it needs to in the wild and keeps that otter warm, and their skin dry underneath. and teaching that pup things like how to socialize with other otters. They live in huge groups called rafts in the wild,
Yeah.
and so we want them to be around other otters through that process. And so foster mom and pup will be together until the pup is about 6 months old, and we target that date. That's when moms separate from pups in the wild, and so we try to recreate that same timeline of processes that we would see with an otter mom and pup in the wild.
That is amazing. That is also a lot more detail than even I realized. That's yeah. There's so many like stages to that that I wasn't aware of. Yeah.
It's We've been rescuing and rehabilitating sea otters since before the aquarium opened in 1984. We're actually celebrating our 40th anniversary this fall,
Nice.
and we're pretty excited about that. And even before our exhibits were opened, we were bringing in sea otters that were sick or injured or needed help. And at first, we didn't know a lot about how to do that. And it was our sea otters, our permanent resident otters that are non releasable, that really showed us they have this inclination to take care of other sea otters, especially young sea otters. I
Mm.
don't know why. It's a lot of work to be a mom, right? It's not
Yeah.
a super easy job, no matter what species you are. And they have this propensity to adopt these pups that are really, really needy. I've taken care of sea otter pups, and it's around the clock care. It is 24-hour a day care.
Yeah.
And we ask, and I have coworkers that help me with that.
Yeah.
These moms don't have any help. We're like, can you please take care of this pup? And oftentimes they're like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And we have learned that the sea otters just are much better at teaching other sea otters how to be sea otters than people
Than
really.
than human beings. Yeah. Man, that yeah, that also just gives even more. I don't know. It makes it even cooler that an otter like Rosa was willing to take on this motherly role like over and over and over and just help out these pups over and over who are now out in the wild and thriving.
It's amazing to me. I'm in awe of what our sea otters do and how they've helped with our wild conservation and recovery of the southern sea otter population. And they do. Rosa raised 15 surrogate pups. She fostered 15 pups. She lived to be 24 years old. She was the oldest southern sea otter that we know of, and she broke a lot of records. And
Yeah.
it was a privilege to have worked with her and share her with audiences all over, like your audience that has tuned in and been so supportive of the Monterey Bay Aquarium and the Sea Otter program. So thank you. Shout out to all your folks and everybody tuning
Yeah.
in. We
Yeah.
send you a big thank you from the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Yeah. This was great. Hearing about this was fantastic. I guess just final thing, is there anything else like with the future of the Sea Otter program or Monterey Bay in general that you'd want to kind of shout out or mention? Just kind of open-ended, like, hey, what other things are beyond just the kind of specific rehabilitation program we talked about might people be supporting when they are hopefully right now donating to the Monterey Bay Aquarium?
Yeah, we always have things going up
Yeah, I
at
know
the
that's a big question because there's like hundreds of things, but if you want to like highlight a few or something that you think might be
Right.
worthwhile.
As I mentioned, we're super excited. It's our 40th anniversary coming up this fall of when the aquarium opened its doors back in 1984. We're super proud of the conservation efforts that we have made for wild conservation and preservation of the ocean in lots of different projects, not just our sea otter program, but other projects that the aquarium has been involved in. We are constantly doing research to make sure that the efforts we are taking are really doing what we hope that they're doing. For instance, when our sea otters are released after rehabilitation, those otters are tracked for 2 weeks, a minimum of 2 weeks, to make
Mm,
sure they're surviving in the wild. If they're not doing well, we'll bring them back and try to give them a second chance. So,
mm.
really dynamic process. And then studies that continue on and look at those individuals even into later years. Rose's pups that she reared were reintroduced to the wild, and that they had pups of their own and just contributed to the success of the wild, success of southern sea otters in the wild, and
So
really helped.
Rosa's a grandmother, or was grandmother, right? We can say.
She is not technically biologically,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. But
her
basically,
foster
okay.
her foster kids have gone on to raise pups of their own, and so as being that she had been a surrogate since 2002, and had we estimate that three out of four of the pups we release are successful, meaning they're put back out there in the wild, and they not only survive but thrive. They can forage on their own, they socialize with other otters, and then they reproduce as well. And so at this point, Rosa could be a great, great, great grandmother. So we're just constantly learning more about them. So always something exciting going on at the aquarium. And whether your viewers donate through this weekend's fundraising campaign, or guests can come through the door or do a different sort of online donation, you are helping wild conservation directly. Your funds are going to not only helping support the physical facility and the animals there, but projects that help support wild conservation. So any donation that anyone can make is helping to go to a really great cause in the efforts that the aquarium tries to make in ocean conservation and preservation.
It's fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much, Melanie. I really appreciate it for all the work you do and for hopping on this interview. Even I learned a lot, and I've been there and behind the scenes. This is really interesting. So thanks so much.
Well, come on back anytime. We would love to have you. Shout out to all your viewers. Come on out and visit us if you can, and if you cannot, just to tune in online. You can see a lot of our animals through our webcams every day and get a glimpse into the aquarium, even if you're not able to physically come and visit us. We love our online viewers.
Yeah, it is a wonderful place to visit. I highly recommend. All right, cool. Thank you so much, Melanie. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.